welcome everyone, and thanks very much for being part of this discussion. Our theme today, of course, is Campus Connect 2013 and recruiting right. Let's, of course, look at the agenda of today. There's no arguing that campus recruitment is essentially one of the most effective medium to source fresh talent in today's day and age as well, across sectors, across the industry. But the big challenge really is to recruit right, train them, as well as retain them. So that essentially is the focus of our discussion. And Mr. Desikachar, I'd like to begin with your views on really helping us understand the expectations, the job expectations of students today.
The students' expectation is, the first thing is a handsome salary. And with that, they have got a lot of doubts, anxiety about the working environment in the industry, the teamwork, the corporate work culture, and particularly about the security of their jobs.
Okay. Would you agree with that, Chetna? Because you look like you are part of Generation Y. It is a situation today where the economy is stagnant, and students could probably reduce their expectations in terms of salary and go more for job stability and security at this point in time.
I think there is a change. If you see in the present 2013 today, there is a shortage of jobs. Today, the students' expectations have increased, compared to what it was there 5 years ago. Today, they are understanding the value of, going to attend an interview, and what they need from the industry is exactly they're learning it. I feel, the skills have improved this particular year especially. We are seeing a lot of students coming and asking us, to get in some training for some specialized programs. So right. That is where I feel it has just started, but there's overall still I think there's a lot of improvement required in a lot of other areas.
Dr. Padmanabhan, you also look at leadership and development, in your particular company. Are companies making a conscious effort to really understand the expectations of the current generation before going out there on campus?
So a direct answer to your question is yes, because we believe academia is a partner for us, right? I mean, we source talent basically, and most of our talent comes from colleges and campuses. So it's a large pool of talent that's available to us. So we are willing to work with them. I think from an expectations standpoint, we would want the academia to have much more rigor, in whatever they do. If they do their 4-year program well, and I think they are ready for a job. Many times, there is a gap there. So we end up filling that gap. And so we are actually kind of catching up on what was lost on the campus. So from an expectation standpoint, I think if they do follow the academic rigor and do the program well, I think that's good enough.
Also, talking about how they really make a choice, because even corporate branding is very crucial, but little things like, the time lag between their first interview and when the corporate gets back to them, that first connect, what are you experiencing in Yahoo?
One of the greatest ways of actually learning is more of an internship program. So we're trying to do, and we just introduced, I just addressed the class the other day, where you actually bring them in for 2 months and work on real life problems that Yahoos actually do. It's not like a make-work project. So what we're hearing is that these guys are saying, we've got good academic foundation, we're pretty smart, but how do you actually solve a real problem in, for example, the internet space? So at the end of those 2 months, that's where the real rubber hits the road. So if I've got them doing crappy work, guess what? Social media will say, Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo sucks. You don't want to be there. But if the opportunity is great, then they're telling other people what a great opportunity it is to work there. And so even if there's a lag on the process to hire, if the opportunity is great and they've heard that, hey, working in this company is a good place to be, it's worth the wait. But if you're long, you're bureaucratic, the experience is not good, you're not developing yourself in your work, and even laterally, they won't come back.
Even stuff like, work-life balance, it's not really a buzzword anymore. It's out there, they really want it. They don't believe that sacrificing so many hours of work is worthwhile at the end of the day. So how do you ensure that you actually tell them that all this is something that's possible in your company?
A whole lot of work-life balance that they are asking for is about, can I have fun at the workplace, right? And can I be spared of the drudgery and do something that is creative, and yet it makes sense to the organization. So for an organization, it becomes so much more important to create an environment where the talent that you are acquiring comes to blossom and really try out new things out there. And we do hire people for the fresh blood, fresh thought, fresh ideas that come our way, right? And that is very, very important for us, and we try to harness that.
So that again comes back to corporate branding, because the competition is not only between an IT firm versus an IT firm, it's between an FMCG firm versus a financial services firm right now. So Mr. Bandapur, do you do anything specific to make sure that...
The first thing what we do is when we get these people, we connect with them virtually. And finally, when I talk to them as an head of HR, I go to them and expose them to the technology. The second thing, what we do is we call it a boot camp. So when these people come, we actually give them an actual problem and divide them in groups and tell them to do it. We have some prizes, and there is also a fun. They can work till midnight, and they program and they come. And the third thing what we do is we give something what we call it bring your own devices, because we believe that you can bring any devices. So we give a stipend, they come, and that's very popular with the campus kids.
Our engagement with campus is a little different. We engage with campuses a year ahead before they pass out, right? That's where they need kind of push, they need some kind of coach. They'll come to us, they work on the real-time stuff, and they gain the experience. Sometimes these guys are so much, they come with so much zeal that they can comparable with our 2 years experience guys, right? So you have a passion, you have energy, you have right skills. The basic necessary academic is very, very important, without which you will not be able to absorb. So this is one thing I think every company would be doing now.
Right, Mr. Banerjee, what do you specifically do? Because, like we're saying that they're just like ready to get into the corporate sector. They want to have some sort of an experience about the live projects that are underway. They also want to understand what kind of a role the new generation or the new joinees into the organization really plays. Because they're, of course, not expecting that the minute you join, you're going to give them some massive project to handle, right? So what kind of a role do they play? And that's something that you can also deliver across to them through social media.
So basically, in our case, we have been experimenting with a lot of things with the campuses. So one step I have taken, a couple of years back, in terms of, so we used to hire people, and depending on and we have the scorecards, depending on the competency levels, skill level, technology level, behavioral, the scorecards. So based on their proficiency, we used to allocate the task, in the sense, put them to the right project, whether they go to the programming, whether they go to the testing, etc. So once they come inside, the guy who actually, according to us, who is the best guy for testing, he says, I'm not interested. He says, I want programming. But my team says that's not the case, because basically we are again in the telecom, product development domain. So we want guys who are not the best, at least it's good guys, and also guys who are really focused on their job. So what we did, we kind of started preparing the PPTs for exclusively on technology. If you attend a Airvana presentation on campus, you will not find anything other than technology. So that's where the crowd started coming in. And the second year, what we did, we kind of split that into programming and the other QA process. So we say that if you opt for programming, this is how things work. If you opt for the QA or testing, this is how things work. So kind of they are okay with this, that before they come in, they pretty much know that how things will work inside.
Let's also talk about, first figuring out the internal conflicts that could probably become a challenge for you ultimately, like these issues on roles. People don't really know what they're suited for, but how do you figure out what they're suited for or try to tell them? Because in your pre-placement talks, that you just tell them about the company, you tell them about the company values and probably the job openings. But how do you essentially tell them that your skills are suitable for this particular department?
If I look at it from an engineering organization standpoint, so anyway we will do a pre-assessment on the candidate, asking to follow some of the functional tests they will go through, and then we will fairly get an idea in terms of where is his skill lie. Whether it is in the design, or whether it is in the analytical area, whether it is in the technical writing, whether it is in the any other functional skill area that he's looking. So we'll be able to judge from a functional test standpoint. The second thing is we will also ask him that what excites you to do the job. Is it doing the design or doing analysis or doing writing, or what exactly excites? So he will come and tell us that, okay, I have learned, rather I have done some specialization in my curriculum as a part of elective, that I have learned this thing, so I'm interested to do that. So engineering organization, at least a product development organization, we didn't see much of a change, a challenge in terms of identifying who can fit where.
Okay. Mr. Banerjee, at Yahoo, like, what do you do? Do you, the big ones like TCS, Wipro, they have MOUs with certain campuses where they have this sort of practical training probably inculcated in the course from the start. Is that something that needs to be done?
Yeah, so my perspective is this, and I talked about the whole internship, which I think is very valuable, because if I look at any university that we have in India, even the best engineering colleges are amazing at academics, but the actual application of real-life problem is missing. So, when you get a guy who's just fresh out, maybe they're second, third year university, they don't know how to apply the knowledge. After a couple of months of an internship, they actually have the context because they're solving a real problem. So my feeling is that if you actually get people as interns, get them to do real life problems, that's number one. Number two, when you bring in people, for example, if we're hiring dev engineering, we're not doing any subsystem or subcast system. You're saying you're hired to be a product engineer. You're in the dev organization, period. And what ends up happening is if you're able to engage them with a complex engineering problem, it doesn't matter whether you're doing, advertising data platforms or, something commerce related, it is a real life problem that you're applying your knowledge and you end up cross-training. So I don't have this class system of saying that this work is better than that work. It's all product engineering to an extent. And I'm looking at this problem. Maybe I've done that for a year and a half. I've cracked that. I've seen the application globally. And you know what? That's a complex engineering problem with smart people that can mentor me. Let me go over there. So I think that if we get away less of this whole streaming and saying we're hiring people with attitude, positive, smart, passionate people. They're smart individuals from great universities. They want to learn. They're hungry. They want to have fun in a great work environment. Create all that, get rid of that noise from them, let them focus, and you'll find that if they actually do the work, and it's real work, not make work, doesn't matter what you call it, they're going to excel at it, do well, and tell their friend and say, hey buddy, this is the one that you want to do, and then they go off to something else. So I think the less streaming we do, and the more hiring good quality people, what I mean by good quality people is that the IQ has to be there, we know that, but the emotional maturity, people that actually have life skills. So you got a student who's, captain of the football team, ran their own business, extracurricular activities. These people have the passion, they have the emotional maturity, and they can also prioritize as well. You put them in any complex engineering problem, they'll solve it. So I find that if you get the right quality of people, don't worry about streaming too much. Give them an opportunity, coach them and mentor them, make sure they're doing work and move them to something else.
But how soon do you start that? How soon do campuses allow students to actually go in for these internship programs and then be in touch with the corporates?
What I feel is industry institution interaction cell is a must in every institute, so that the industries will provide a substantial partnership to see that the institution as well as the industry both will benefit, and students are made ready for industry.
Right. But the question also boils down to availability versus employability. Because, there's one survey done by NASSCOM, the industry body, that says every year there are at least about 4 lakh engineers, but about just 20% are employable. And that's a huge danger.
To some extent, that will be addressed if you have internships which are a year. In Canada, engineering courses are 2-year internships. Yes. With 2 years of courses and 2 years of internship.
Look at water.
And employability is much higher. Sorry, Amy.
How much can the academia really make the students industry ready? Because at the end of the day, as an organization, you can't escape the fact that you do have to train them at some level.
As an organization, any organization if you take, they're willing to provide all the support to make them ready. Because ultimately, only if these people perform, the organization can achieve their objectives, right? So they're willing to provide all the support. We need support even back from the academia. So when we go to the campus for a pre-placement talk or whatever, we say a lot of things, and they have a different idea about what an organization will be. They don't know the reality. The reality hits them after they join the organization. 1 month, 2 months down the line, they would actually be wondering, oh, this is what I'm into? they would really not know. So if there is an opportunity for the students to work with the organization, say for 4 months or 6 months, they will actually understand what they're going to get into in future, and they'll be well prepared. Right. So that works well both for the organization and the academia.
I think the question is of how much of the onus of training is on the organization, and how ready is academia supposed to make the students. And now we find the gap between a tier 1 institute and a tier 2, whether it's established tier 2 or an upcoming tier 2, is too wide. Also, what about student choice? How many of our engineering students get to choose the subjects? Their ownership in that subject is, I mean, we've met so many who say, oh, I think we did that course. I don't remember. You don't remember it because you didn't choose it.
The university fixes the subject they have to study.
Correct.
And that is one thing. And second thing is, even nowadays, most of the institutions give training in soft skill. But what I feel is, if the industry is going to join hands with the institutions, you can give at least some skills in the team working, corporate work culture, the problem solving skills, and so on and so forth. That would be more giving an exposure of the industry to the students, and they will be made industry ready.
I think a lot of product companies are represented here, and it works beautifully in a product company. Right. But when you go to services play, there are a lot of other things which come into play. Now, I have a client confidentiality which I have to maintain. So there is an agreement signed between the organization and the client. I cannot put these guys on a client project, right? So for me to create opportunities for internships within organizations like this is really a big struggle. So even if you increase to 4 months, 4 lakh engineers will not get internships. Right? I mean, that's a big problem.
And then you also need to decide what is more important for you. Is it the skill set, the attitude, the education?
No, it's not the question. So I completely agree that pedagogy has to change. It should be more practical. Internships are the best way to impart that, get the emotional maturity, get practical skills incorporated. But creating those opportunities of internships for 4 lakh engineers, I think is going to be a mammoth task.
While I kind of agree with what he's saying, if you consider the current practices, it's not possible at all. But creating internship need not happen in the organization and within the environment of a particular company. US, if you look at US, a lot of internships happen via the professors. Right? There is a project that's given to a professor. He picks the 10 students, and those 10 students spend the next 6 months working on that, and they have something that comes out. Without internship, we cannot expect students, right, to be industry ready.
No, but then at some level, even when you're hiring, you need to, create a balance or decide between what you're recruiting for. You're recruiting for skill, attitude, education.
We have been appointing many freshers. What we find problem is maybe any companies, your benchmark is maybe 80% or 90%. And that is the segment where you will have more attrition level, and they will get better opportunities and all. In civil industry, we are all spread. Even Karnataka, we are doing in 300 locations, which are very much rural areas. So we are picking up people who are above 60%, and we are training a large bunch of people where they are. We can retain them, because somebody today having a 90% student, after 1.5 years, he is going for higher studies for MTech, or he is going for MS or different opportunity. So with that experience, we started bringing down even the minimum benchmark percentage, and the training makes maybe some improvement. Maybe even 60% person almost acts like a 80-90% merit student once you give a proper training. But the training part, see, the question is whether it is it should happen in the campus, or it should happen in our corporate office or whatever training institute.
I think everyone on the panel has agreed that it needs to be industry and academia partnership. But we've already into 2013. If you can also give me some closing comments on what you believe are the best practices that could evolve going forward. What do you believe could increase your odds of success at campuses when you recruit?
The internship program has to be modified. Make sure that the student come back and spend enough time with the industry, at least a minimum of 3 months to 6 months. Today it is 6 weeks to 8 weeks, but it should go up at least to 6 months. The second thing is definitely organizations should go ahead and then spend some time with academia and try and understand, is there a possibility of changing some of the curriculums, okay, in accordance with whatever the technical education board we have, so that those will be, the courses will be much more closer to what we do in the industry.
From an academia perspective, I mean, I'm not walking away from what industry has to do. Yes, we're governed by what the government and what the university prescribes, but I think there's a lot of wriggle room in there. As an example, look at school curriculum. Companies like iDiscover are creating content that sits on top of existing CBSE or ICSE curricula and makes it more palatable for children to absorb. So I haven't read of anything of that sort happening at the engineering or at any other level other than that school curricula. So I think innovation, when you talk about we need innovation from students, I think that's the last step. We need innovation from organizations in hiring. We need innovations from academia in solving these problems. The second is again the industry-academia collaboration.
I think from a best practices standpoint, I mean, the question was what will be the recruiting best practices? I think what will probably happen, I mean, is that people will be more focused on quality, the quality as defined by the organization, right? So different organizations will have different metrics around that. Attitude will play a great role, and also the preferences, what they really like to do. I think that will be a big thing which will come out in the years to come. If people don't like to do things which the company is offering and they are hired, it's going to be a problem. So focus on getting quality as defined by the organization, finding out what their work attitudes are. I think that's going to be the key.
One of the things that we would continue to look at is how actively do students participate in the tech forums and in the industry forums, right? We are in an era where we are all interconnected and closely watching. I mean, go to a Yahoo tech group or a Google tech group. We need to see more and more students out there talking about their ideas, talking about their solutions that they may have, however stupid it is. We at least know they are getting there and they are trying to do something, right? And that's going to be one key area for us to watch out. And that's perhaps where students from a not so known university can break the barrier. Yeah. From the academic point of view, I think you should encourage that to happen in the university. You've got to spend a lot more than what you perhaps do on the teaching faculty, right? And the faculty has been the biggest problem, and most of the students that we hire all tell us that they didn't have good faculty.
So internship is a given. The other thing, of course, is what the industry needs at this point in time in terms of where the economy is. Everybody says we want to be more efficient, but at the same time come out with more products. And then, we keep seeing headlines like this particular student from an IIM or an IIT has got this sort of a pay package. But we don't see that anymore. Recently, it's all about job stability and growth. So in terms of keeping that as a focus, what are the recruitment strategies that we're looking at?
I think one of the important steps I think most of the global companies are taking is certification courses, right? Like we are a global leader in communication space. We have our own certification courses. Like Cisco has their own certification course. Microsoft has certification courses. As a universities, they should also push their students to take up these courses, right? They can build their knowledge on that. They can be more productive from the day one or maybe a few weeks down the line. That is very, very important.
I wish all of you good luck then in recruiting for the year, and also going through the whole evolution process in terms of mindsets and as well as attitudes. You've got a huge task ahead of you. And that responsibility, of course, as everybody agreed, lies with the industry and academia partnership. Thank you all for joining us on the panel today.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.